Good morning, I'm WaywornWyrm and welcome to my channel. Welcome to another Friday video. I know it's Saturday. I know it's not Friday. If you follow me on Twitter, well, if you don't follow me on Twitter, I recommend that you do. It is the easiest way for me to communicate any channel-related news, and I'm starting to use it more. And just overall, it's a good way to get a hold of me if you want to get a hold of me outside of comments. I see every single comment and I reply to the vast majority of them, but because of how I track most of my social media throughout the day, Twitter would probably be the easiest. It is also the most restrictive, but you know, I posted last night on Twitter that I'd recorded this whole video and I had problems. I went to open it in my editing program, and for some reason that I don't know, it deleted the first file that I have that I record this in, and then opened the last episode of The Pugilist. I don't know why, but that's what happened. So, and then, I was recording that at almost midnight, so I was just like, nope, going to bed. But there are only 3 things I really want to talk about today. So shouldn't be too long. The first thing is we're growing. We're still growing by a lot. The smallest growth that we have when I look at the last 28 days versus the 28 days before that is average watch time, or no, average view duration. So the average amount of time that someone spends on my channel watching videos. And that is currently at a little over 7.5 minutes, which is up almost 90%. It's 89.81% compared to the first 28 days of December. And then on top of that, watch time is up just under 500%. Views are up by over 200%. Likes are up by over 100%. Comments are up by almost 2,000%. Shares are up 100%. Videos and playlists are up 400%. And subscribers are up 900% compared to the first 28 days of December. Because we're at 39 subscribers right now. We got one yesterday afternoon. I think I know who it is. I'm not positive, though, so I'm not going to call them out in this video because I might be wrong. So we are still growing. However, the last 28 days, as I sort of alluded to a second ago, is December 29th through January 25th. So we still are catching the tail end of last year, which the thing with that is I did a stream on New Year's Eve, and it was a very popular stream. It is a massive spike when I look at all of my analytics. I can tell at a glance when New Year's Eve was. Except in comments, actually. It's comments and likes, it does not have a huge spike. But in watch time, in views, and in average view duration, it is easy to pick out New Year's Eve. So I'm interested to see what happens when that moves to the, from the current period to the last period, and see how our numbers change. But, oh, and the one of the reasons for that is there's been a slowdown in the last few weeks, and there are two caveats to that I think mean that this slowdown is nothing to worry about. And the first of those caveats is just the fact that this is apparently the slowest time Twitter has in the entire year. So, yeah. But beyond, well, let me talk about that a tiny bit more. Apparently, the top 2 times for YouTube watching is from Thanksgiving, which, if you're not in the US, it's effectively the second to last Thursday of the month, but the way it's written in the American legal system, and yes, there are laws that decide when Thanksgiving is, it's just worded really weird, but it's effectively the second to last Thursday of November. Because it's the third Thursday if there are 4 Thursdays, it's the fourth Thursday if there are 5 Thursdays in November. But from that week to Christmas is the top time for people to watch. And the second top time is summer. And I think that would reflect the fact that a large chunk of YouTube's audience is in school of some kind. Because those map very closely to common breaks, especially in the American education system. So I think that just points to there's a noticeably large chunk of the YouTube audience that is in the American public school system and or school systems that run similar schedules. But apparently, starting on Boxing Day, which is December 26th, the viewership starts dropping off, and it plummets starting at about January 2nd, which is why a lot of big name YouTubers take off the last part of December and sometimes even up, the entirety of January, just because the ad money's not there, the people aren't watching as much. Basically, the way that the ads work is because less people are watching, there are less ads, and not only are there less ads, but there's less money to go around from those ads because they're all smaller ads. But yeah, so that's part of it. And the other caveat is, with the exception of the last week of last year and the first week of this year, the current growth that this channel is seeing is the strongest 2 weeks. You can, as long as you don't line it up to the last week of December and the first week of January, the 2 weeks that we're just ending are stronger than any other 2 weeks in the channel. So I'm happy about that. I hope that continues. And this lets me move on pretty easily into the second topic I wanted to talk about, and that is, starting late last year, I've been starting to network with several other creators, both in a self-contained community, which is the Discord I've mentioned a couple of times. I know I've said I would share that, and I haven't, but the reasoning behind that is I'm not sure how comfortable the people who run that Discord would be with me sharing it. So I've been avoiding that for now. I'm going to have a talk with one of them probably later today, just so I'm clear on what that is, on what the expectations are. So, but I've also started mainly on Twitter, and a lot less networking with separately networking with smaller creators. And I think so far that's going really well. There's a couple of communities that this channel fits really well into, and I'm starting to enter those communities, and it's awesome for a bunch of reasons. One of it is, as far as I can tell, this networking has been driving a large chunk of the growth that I was just talking about. I'm also talking sort of vaguely, almost hypothetically, with a couple of people about doing collaborations. And I hope they're going to bear fruit in the coming months. I'm not sure yet. We're not in that stage. But all of this is really exciting me for the year to come. I'm looking forward to it a lot, and I'm looking forward to it more and more almost every day. And just the last thing I want to talk about today is, especially with the new YouTube rule change, there's a lot of talk about small creators, and not a lot of talk about what small creators means. I've seen some people say that small creators go all the way up to channels that are less than 1 million subscribers. I've seen some people argue that since there's an estimated over 5,000 channels that have at least 1 million subscribers, we might even want to raise that bar of small creator to higher than 1 million. Although I don't know where you would raise it to, because especially by the time you start hitting 2 or 3 million subscribers, like the Vlogbrothers, John and Hank Green, they are really, really big news here on the channel. They run VidCon. Many channels use DFTBA, which is, as far as I can tell, that originated from John and Hank Green. They sit at only 3 million subscribers on their main channel. And I think SciShow and Crash Course and everything are at best at similar numbers. So they're definitely not a small creator. So yeah. And I mean, really, starting at about 1 million subscribers, here's a good example. So one of the people I watch, the channel's called Skullagrin, and they are at the lower 900,000 mark. I'm pretty sure his videos and his business side of the channel, I'm pretty sure that looks very similar to the Vlogbrothers at 3 million, to Markiplier or Jacksepticeye, who are both at right around 19 million, or even all the way up to PewDiePie at over 60 million. I think that, especially because those are all essentially one-person operations, though some of them I know have editors, but they're all small numbered staffs. I think that they've got more in common than not. Um, they all do it. Well, I was going to say they all do it professionally, but the Vlog Brothers professionally YouTube, but I think YouTube is just one of many things that both of the brothers do professionally. Like John Green is still undeniably primarily an author. Um, but when you look at channels that have less than 1 million subscribers, I'm not sure that that's true. I don't, my channel, the channel that you're listening to this on, right now we've got 39 subscribers. I'm sure that if you look at, say, Xenoc, who I've talked about several times and is definitely going to be in the creator video that I'm chugging along on, who has 166 subscribers, or even Nick's Interactive, which is a new channel that I found yesterday. He's got 227 subscribers. I imagine that our schedules, and I imagine that the back end of our YouTube all looks fairly similar. None of us do it professionally. We can't do it professionally. We're not monetizable with the current rule set. We make videos in our spare times around our other obligations in life. If we get nice equipment like my wonderful microphone, that's something that comes out of either presents, or it comes out of, hey, I've got some extra money, or hey, I've been saving up for this, rather than, hey, I'm going to use what I made on YouTube to get myself better YouTube equipment, and so on and so forth. And I think that's pretty comparable all the way up to 999 subscribers. So you're still just under the new rules. You can't quite be monetized. However, I think that those similarities are very different than, quote, other small creators who are less than 1 million. You've got Matt Colville, who has 165,000 creators, or subscribers rather, and he doesn't run ads. He's a fantasy author, and the big thing he does is he says that, hey, if you want to support me, buy my books. And his book sales are high enough now that he's really expanding his channel, and he's buying some really expensive stuff because he has that much support. Foot of a Ferret, 379,000 or so, and as far as I can tell, he professionally makes his videos. Now, granted, he only makes like one a week, but it's a really good video. And also, he knows essentially everyone there is to know on YouTube. He has met all of the biggest names. Or even a really awesome food channel that I watch called Sauce Stash, who at last time I checked was at 4,284 subscribers. Granted, I don't think he's doing YouTube professionally, but if you look at his earlier videos, he was in clearly his kitchen at his house, and now he is in a workspace. He's made a studio space, and I presume that's because of how much his YouTube channel has grown. And I'm also very positive that Sawstash, his back end looks a lot different than Matt Coville's back end, which looks a lot different than Foot of the Ferret's back end. And we're still only comparing like 1 or 2 man operations to each other. Every single channel that I've mentioned in this are about the same size person-wise, but because of subscribers, there's a huge amount of difference. And basically, the whole point I'm trying to make is there's a really big gap in... It's a disservice to call everyone who has less than 1 million subscribers small creators, or even to lump in anyone under 100,000 subscribers, or, going all the way even more granularly, we look at Sawstash at a little over 4,000 subscribers versus, someone who has 900 some subscribers. There's a difference. There's a noticeable difference due to how YouTube rules work. And yeah, I think that's worth keeping in mind, and maybe call 100,000 to 1 million subscriber channels to like medium creators rather than small creators. And then maybe calling anyone under 1,000 subscribers like micro creators or very small creators, or, the people YouTube doesn't like. Okay. That last bit was a little unfair. I'm still, as much as I'm trying to get to a good place, with all of my feelings towards the rule change, I'm not quite there yet. But closing out the video on something happier, in the time since the rule change has happened, I have gone from an average of 4% of the way to monetization again. Because remember, I was monetized once. It's been taken away. Okay, there's still quite a bit of hard feelings there. I apologize. Anyway, so I have gone from 4% of the way to 4.2% of the way. My watch time, the amount that all of you wonderful, amazing people have watched, in the last 12 months, it's 181 hours. When this rule change happened, it was in the it's been 10 hours since the rule change was started. So, we've gone from about 4.2% of the watch time needed to 4.525%. And we've gone from 3.8% of the subscribers needed to 3.9% of the subscribers needed. So overall, we're actually doing really well. We're growing at a nice pace. We've gone 0.2% in a week and a half. So we're doing about 0.15% of the way every week. So, you've got to think, we're on track to, if we're at a constant steady growth rate, we're on track to hit the goals in about 5 years. But you know what? I'm still having fun. I hope you guys are too. And remember, tune in on Monday morning for my live stream. It's going to be 7 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. So that's going to be GMT minus 8. Yeah, so I hope to see everyone